Well, Ben, good morning, my man. Good morning, fam, he says. Indeed, good morning, fam. Love the breakup gang. Joseph Norwood says, thanks for sharing, Oliver Anthony. We need to get this young man to Nashville. If he didn't know of Bitcoin, I bet he does now. Yeah, he was invited yesterday, so don't you worry about that. He will be there. We're doing the musical stuff in Nashville, of course. It's a year from now. I'm going to try and book him for something sooner, but I do think the song is going to become an anthem, right? Your dollar ain't shit. It's so good. So good. It's a long held prediction that these musical talents were going to help push Bitcoin over the edge, and Oliver Anthony has been one of the first. I think there's been a few other kind of musical things over the years that have gotten people's attention. Guten Tag, Andy Benton says. Good morning, Bitcoiner. Bud Perry says. Indeed, good morning. And I got to tell you, we had one of the most beautiful sunrises I've ever seen in my life today. I took a bunch of pictures. It was incredible. It was completely pink and purple skies, just gorgeous. So I have not just a confirmation of a sunrise, I have a confirmation of a beautiful sunrise. And I have a confirmation of this beautiful financial network that just continues to run. Right? It's just going. Bitcoin's just going. We're doing great. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what is new. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. King Mansa Musa. Morning from Florida, where we do Bitcoin. Indeed, they're doing some Bitcoin there. We love Florida. Good morning. Haven't been able to catch a live show in 2 weeks. Busy fiat mining, saving in BTC. So only a matter of time until I decide what my 8 a.m. looks like. Good for you, Greg. Good for you. We love it. We love free mornings are great, right? We love free mornings. Johnny Rico, beautiful morning here as well. Yeah, I think it might just be it might have been everywhere. When you get a bit of warm weather, the most beautiful sunrise I've seen from here was when we had a hurricane out in Miami, where Capenta's coming from, Maine. There was a hurricane out at sea last summer, September maybe, and we didn't get any, winds here or anything like that. But boy, oh boy, did it create an amazing, amazing, amazing sunrise. Johnny says, "Oh, we got all kinds of people in Maine. I usually go to Maine the first week of September. I won't this year. I haven't done it in a few years since I had kids. Really, before that, it was a tradition. I'm only a few hours from it. I cross the Green Mountains. All of a sudden, I'm in the White Mountains." Cut through the White Mountains of Bretton Woods, which we talk about all the time. I've been to Bretton Woods many, many times. So there you go. Any other Bitcoiners going to Burning Man? Yeah, that's a good question. There usually are. There's always a Bitcoin gang you can find there. As I understand, what's his name? That really rich guy, Ray Dalio. Right? He got into Bitcoin from Burning Man. Sorry, just a urban legend, maybe. But I do know Bitcoiners who saw him when he went to Burning Man in like 2019 or something like that. It's a fun story, so I have no idea if it's true. It's just narrative bias. I accept it as true because I want it to be true, right? I just want it to be true so bad that I accept it to be true. Like a lot of Moscow time, right? Moscow time is pretty much the same. The only people who can believe this stuff are the people who want it to be true. So who wants this one to be true? This is from CNN. All right, everyone ready for some Moscow time? We got some good ones today. Ukraine backers on Capitol Hill are itching. They're itching, guys. They're itching, right? Ukraine backers on Capitol Hill are itching for President Joe Biden to step up his case for why the U.S. should send more money to Ukraine in its fight against Russia, as warning bells sound about the American public's support for Kiev, right? So I guess that's what it's going to be. This one's pretty good. So I don't know. This is from Alpha News. I've never really heard of it, but it's a pretty funny headline, right? So here they say, and I guess this is in Minnesota. So you guys in Minnesota can let me know, Jevi, if you're around. Let me know if this is actually true. But the Walker Art Center holds a playful demon summoning session for families, right? So if you just want to summon a demon, right, you can go to Minnesota. You can go to the Walker Art Center, right? And they've received millions of dollars in taxpayer funds, and they're going to put some of that money towards the excellent work of they're playful, guys, playful demon summoning. Okay, Don't worry about it. Another one from CNN. The IRS cannot locate thousands of microfilm cartridges storing millions of sensitive business and individual tax account records. So that's okay. Don't worry about it. Here's Ottawa in Canada. I got two coming from Canada because they're always. Actually, I'll wait for the Canada ones. I want to get to this one first. I probably mentioned this one when it happened live, but it made news again because Ashley St. Clair shared it. And her alarm now on her iPhone is actually, when it's set early, it's called a hate crime because of this headline. It says, why waking up early is rooted in white supremacy, right? So we only get going here at 8 a.m. So we're not that white supremacy, right? Like we get, there's black people who come and watch the show. We're not really white supremacy because we're only at 8. If I ever change to go at like 6 a.m., we're going to have to look into who comes here because it's just going to be so white supremacist by that time. Like if I went at 6 in the morning, could you imagine how crazy things would get in here? Could you imagine? Right? So why waking up early is indeed rooted in white supremacy. It's right in the heart of white supremacy, right? So good thing, like I said, we start at 8. It's only like casually racist to be at 8, right? It's just casually racist. It's not like rooted in racism. So that's cool. Happy about that. All right, these are the two that I got for you now. Remember, we have a few special subcategories of Moscow time, right? There's a few special subcategories. We of course did the RFK for a while simply because we predicted at the very start of his campaign, because he was getting some momentum, we said you were going to hear some A game Moscow time, A game character assassinations, and indeed you saw that, right? So we used that as a special subgenre. But this summer, our special subgenre has been all about Sound of Freedom and the Moscow time that happens around the movie Sound of Freedom. So now there's two headlines I got for you today, and both of them, right? Now, remember the other day when that one that I said should have gone in the Louvre, and we knew it was kind of fake. It was the Irish one, right? Where pregnant men, it's really trouble with the global warming and stuff. And, we kind of knew it was fake. But these two are real, all right? So if we do want to, Robert, before I go on, Robert, careful. That's rooted, okay? That's rooted, right? Duke, you're being too logical, okay? I understand time changes in the world, but racism is a constant, okay? All right, so don't try and look too much into it. All right, it's 8 a.m. here, so I'm only casually racist. All right, yeah. He's a giant, Robert. I don't know if you like. I don't know. I'm not trying to court white supremacists into the show. I want the show to be open to everyone. I don't know who you think you are coming here with that kind of 3 a.m. shit. God. Okay, Rob, we're gonna let it pass until we get a little more info on you, right? But 3 a.m. Jeez. What time is your clan meet up at night, right? What time does that happen at? All right, so these are the special subcategory of Sound of Freedom fake news headlines and Canada. As we know, Canada, right? You can never discount the Canadians when it comes to this kind of stuff. They're always at the top of the game. It's like hockey, right? Fake news headlines in Canada, they're as good at that as hockey, right? So let me tell you what they got. First, we'll just go to The Economist, right? Because it's only okay. Their headline's only okay. It's pretty good. Here's what they say. Sound of Freedom, how to make a fortune with a mediocre movie. Turning the culture war into profit. Those fucking jerks, right? They made up shit and now they made money off it. Assholes. But here's this one. This one is, to me, you got to put this one in the Louvre one day. This is the actual submission that I have to be framed, to be put somewhere in a museum when Moscow time is but a historical footnote, right? When we're talking about how fake the news really was in the 2020s. This is what we got. This is from the Globe and Mail. They say it's the greatest newspaper in Canada. Oh, right? The collection of the dumbest people in the world tell you this is their favorite newspaper, all right? The stupidest people in the world are telling you this is their favorite newspaper. So this is an actual headline. Now just soak it in, right? Soak it in. Just please soak it in. The far right's fixation on pedophilia is dangerous. Oh my God. Doesn't it hit you where you want to be hit, that headline? Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? We got to hang it up. And then they've got a picture of James Casaville, the actor, right? And he's doing some pontificating from a podium, right? And he's got a cross behind him. Jeez. Remember he played Jesus? Whoa. This guy probably gets up super early. He's probably up at like 4. Right. I don't know if the Globe and Mail mentions what time he wakes up at, but I bet it's 4, 3 even. I don't know if he's as crazy as Robert, right? But it's pretty early. So Cernovich had a really interesting thing to say about that headline. He says, this is proof that the Catholic abuse scandal isn't about pedophilia to them. More kids are abused in public school. Look it up. They don't ask any questions. The Lavender Mafia and Vatican is, of course, Antichrist. And they oppose. And Cernovich says, we oppose it all. So there you go, pretty funny stuff. So now, the theme today, right? If you saw the glasses that I had, soon red and blue will see what's true. And it's those lenses. It's a bit of the, it's not red versus blue. It's the state versus you. That one's kind of out there a lot. My mind kept saying that's the theme. And it is kind of the theme of today. I just needed an original headline. But it is indeed that whole concept of red, and it's not red and blue, it's the state versus you. And what I'm seeing this morning is that dichotomy, the fake prison of two ideas, the red versus blue frame, quickly falling apart in America, which is excellent news, right? That's exactly what Bitcoiners want to see. That's exactly how the stage is set for Bitcoin to take over, right? We get away from the red versus blue dichotomy and it shifts into green versus orange. You've seen Balaji Srinivasan share that meme. You see a lot of people sharing that meme. Yesterday on Joe Rogan, he had Tim Dillon, who was a Bitcoin 2021 speaker, maybe. I think we had him on stage at 2021 in Miami. And a great session. That's when he did, the trailer for our show. If you haven't seen it, you got to go see this. Tim Dillon did a movie trailer in 2021, pretending that he was making a movie about finding keys for some crypto wallet or something, that all they needed to do was find the money and they would get rich. So it's like they never made the movie, but the trailer for the fake movie is hilarious. And it really helped make the Bitcoin 2021 show a big success, because to have that kind of viral marketing from Tim Dillon is just awesome, right? So I got to meet him at Bitcoin 2021. Great guy, really funny. And I thought he had, we put him at the end of the show because we got to laugh at ourselves too as Bitcoiners. And he's really good at getting Bitcoiners to laugh at themselves in a good way. So he was on Joe Rogan and they were talking all about a shifting culture. And so here's what they say. Joe Rogan says the culture has shifted and now the left embraces war, censorship, big pharma, and authoritarianism. If you stop looking in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, or mandatory pharmacological interventions. That used to all be associated with authoritarian right. And now those things are being embraced by the left. So they had a back and forth, right? On the left, this is this want for war. This is Joe Rogan speaking. On the left, this want for war in Ukraine, this trust in the military-industrial complex. What happened to you guys? The best to take it on, it's just written wrong, was Trump. When Caitlin Collins asked him, do you want Ukraine to win this war? He said, I just want people to stop dying. And somehow that's controversial. Tim Dillon responded, I just want people to stop dying is a very logical statement. That's the appropriate response to every war out there. At the end of the day, unending conflicts only hurt the people in those countries fighting the wars and becoming victims of the wars. They don't hurt the people over here making a lot of money. And indeed, there was a actual little quote. Let me get it for you. I didn't put it in my notes, but it's unreal, like unreal. This came from the New York Times or Washington Post, right? Our amazing Washington Post. This is an actual quote, right, from the Polish president. It's very simple, Polish President Andrzej Duda told me last week. Right now, Russian imperialism can be stopped cheaply. Okay, it can be stopped cheaply, right? Because American soldiers are not dying. That's what he says, right? So it's okay if the Ukrainian soldiers die, right? That's okay, right? It's cheap because they're not American, so don't worry about it, right? It's another one of these, don't worry about it. Right, it's fine. And indeed, Tim Dillon is kind of pointing that out here. The Washington Post, what they said there, it's cheap. Don't worry, it's just some of these young Ukrainian men. Screw it, right? Kill them. And that's what he's bringing up here, right? So he says, Tim Dillon goes on, every argument made rightly against the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war. What's the plan? We're going to be in a quagmire. The money would be better used back home. All of those arguments were used ad nauseum by the left, and they were right. Now, if you bring up any of those arguments about Ukraine, you are called heartless or a Putin propagandist. And then Joe Rogan answers, the crazy thing is that it's been adopted wholesale by the left. The people that are always the most and I won't say, look, the neocons are right here again, right? David Frum found a war today that he didn't like, Mexico. He's like, don't bomb Mexico, right? Don't do that, right? Bomb everybody else, not Mexico. So there's plenty of conservatives on this and plenty of right-wing people in this too. And I'll talk a bit more about that stuff in a second. So the crazy thing is that it's been adopted wholesale by the left, the people that are always the most skeptical about war. Trump was the first sitting president that I ever saw that openly admitted the military-industrial complex wants you to go to war. When Eisenhower was resigning, he said it, but Trump actually said it during an interview, which is just a wild thing to hear, that they might be influenced to start wars, not when they are necessary, but for financial reasons, right? And now we kind of all accept that now, right? It's not really that big of a myth. So this shifting territory between right and left and red and blue, and switching, really, as we've been saying for a long time, between state and individualism, state power and individualistic, an orientation that is and an organizing principle either around the individual or these collective institutions that are showing tons of signs of entropy and uselessness, right? And that's one of the reasons why I think, and another reason why I didn't really mind. So yesterday you had, the Greg, I don't know, he's like a crypto character on Twitter, Greg 16, 67, 69, 35, 420. It's just like a long string of things. He's got like a character, like a caricature face, but he's not real, right? Well, he's a real person, but the actual Twitter handle isn't real, and he's never spoken. But he hosts spaces, and he summoned the Linda Yaccarino, the new CEO of Twitter, yesterday, and she came, and they had a little joke, right? First of all, it was funny, right? She tried to coax him to speak, right? She's like, so they're in spaces on Twitter. She says, Greg, are you there? Greg isn't responding. It's hurting me. I heard I was being summoned. I rushed out of my dinner. I ran to the phone. And then Greg also did hello, Linda, in a Batman style voice, right? So entertaining content, funny. But people today are getting a little angry because she said, what was the actual line again? It's the that awful, not lawful content will be hidden, right? Lawful but awful content. Sorry, that's what it was. Lawful but awful content would be hidden, right? Lawful but awful content. Now, of course, people, right-wing people, it's freedom of speech, and they're censoring us all over again, and right? So, look, I get it, right? You can be censoring, but can we not admit there's a lot of bullshit engagement farming going on all the time? And some people believe that since the anons that aren't paying, now I totally get being anon, right? I don't want to have that argument. I get why you would want to use a different name, right? And I get why you'd want to do all of those things. But the $8 for the blue check, you can be still anon, right? Now, I see there's money. There's all kinds of things that don't look great, right? That look like censorship. But hold on for 1 second. What I see happening here is a little bit of what Bitcoiners really want, because the way out of the fake prison of two ideas, the fake prison of right and left, the way we blend, or the way we metamorphose between the way we change between red and blue to get to the orange and green, right? That change again comes back to, I think, what everyone in Bitcoin understands very well: time preference, right? One of the main reasons, one of the Bitcoin fixes it arcs that's out there is really a shifting time preference of the people who use the instrument. And the time preference is somehow directly linked to the actual money. Remember, time is money, right? Money is time, right? They're the same thing. We've always thought of them the same way. That's why the old adage, time is money, is actually 100% true. It's not just some statement that people make offhand. It's true, right? Bitcoin makes it explicitly true, right? Because of course, another way to describe Bitcoin is a time chain, right? What happened when is what Bitcoin is doing all the time, right? The Bitcoin that's moving on the public ledger is all being anchored in time, and therefore you can see a linear, agreed upon, objective version of time. Really important, right? So because Bitcoin has that capacity, and because if you think of debt and the kind of money that we exist with now, you understand quickly why we are living in a very high time preference, very high dopamine addiction, very high irritability rate, very high demand for stimulation all the time. The money itself is sort of empty. And it's like eating empty calories, right? You're eating all of this empty time, and it's creating a major problem because you need more all the time. You need more all the time. And it's not just left-wing people that are getting duped all the time. Look at this disgusting story on the right. This is disgusting, right? And now I bet you a bunch of innocent, nice people who I would agree with all the time would about many things would have participated in this, right? So what happened was there was a girl the other day who had a TikTok video or something, and she's very unattractive. You gotta say it because that somehow was part of it, right? Not like kind of a heavy person, I guess you could say, really round, and super, I guess you could say, annoying, right? Like as a some, you know, men might find women like this annoying. I think that was kind of the point. So you get a guy, and the whole meme was this guy was driving and the girl was drinking coffee, and she's like, I'm about to talk for 5 hours straight. And the guy was like, and the whole thing, it went viral because watch a man die inside. And everyone said this must be some, you know, heavy kind of liberal woman or something. Well, it turns out, all right, here's the truth. And here's how you can see why it's not just red and blue, right? Or why not just blue that gets, not just liberals that are messed up when it comes to buying a narrative or buying a story that feels good because you can scratch a little hate, right? So here's what she really is, right? Could you imagine this, right? So this woman who was laughed at by the right, made into a joke for a whole day, you know who she really is, right? So she's a small business owner, grew up in Virginia, moved to Toronto. She started Street Brew Coffee with her dad, which is a coffee service to hire people that come out of jail and like halfway houses and drug addiction. She's a super Christian, very conservative, right? And is generally, it seems like one of the sweetest people you're ever going to meet in the world, and 100% not the person that everyone thought she was, like a know-it-all, annoying, you know, weird person, right? So here's what Pedro Gonzalez says about it, right? So this girl that the online right poke fun at for engagement helps the homeless get back on their feet, particularly through job training and employment. Went to Liberty University, which is that, you know, really Christian university in Washington, D.C. Started a business with her dad. And then he says, starting to think the incentives for farming engagement make people act in ways that are anti-social, right? So look, it is entirely, and it happens all the time everywhere, that lots of red right-wing people have just as much problem with finding the truth, waiting for the truth, jumping in and hating on something when there was no need to, right? And this is one of those cases. And that's why I bring up the time preference thing, and why it's so important to not jump into these things, to look a little closer and you know, wonder what's really going on. Because once you start understanding how many people are out there trying to spin you, trying to get you engaged in this stuff, trying to summon demons, more or less, right? Just like what's happening in Minnesota. The more you realize this is happening, the more you can protect yourself against it, and why it comes down to time preference all the time. And so here's another example of it. And another reason why I absolutely love Robert Kennedy Jr. and his campaign, right? So everyone knows Kennedy is an environmentalist. Everybody knows he's sort of made a track record that's almost beyond reproachment over the years as far as his commitment to environmentalism goes. And he's also quite aware of Hawaii, you know, as many wealthy Americans are. Jeff Bezos, by the way, I think donating $100 million today to reconstruction in Arizona, or sorry, in Hawaii. Amazing, right? Way to go. Way to go. To that guy, right? Jeff Bezos. So here's what Kennedy says about Hawaii. Hawaii fires result from poor tending of the land. First, industrial agricultural plantations obliterated native ecosystems. When these farms were abandoned, combustible invasive grasses took over. Climate change may be a factor too, but we must resist the seduction of a simplistic global explanation for every environmental problem. Top priority has to be on healing soil, forests, wetlands, rivers, oceans, instead of treating them as resources to strip and waste dump. Stop ruining land and water. Stop poisoning the earth. Protect what remains and regenerate what was damaged. Healthy ecosystems stabilize weather and mitigate flood drought cycle. They also draw down carbon. Everyone can get behind land and water healing, whatever their views on climate change. As president, I'm going to unite climate activists and skeptics an environmental renaissance, the likes of which we have not seen since the 1960s. So that's it right there. And that's the whole campaign, right? Because he is capable of doing this. This is actually a time preference shift. This shows you, because it's this whole idea right away. Here's how you know the environmental thing is absolutely a scam, right? We know it's a handful of companies responsible for all of this stuff, yet they've made it your problem. Your individual actions are what counts according to this whole edifice, right? Which is a scam. There's nothing you individually can do. Yeah. If we all farted at once, right? If we all coordinated our farts, it could have some effect, right? But or coordinated our cleanup or coordinated our mitigation, right? But it's the same thing, right? It would be like trying to coordinate every fart on Earth in the world, and then having some effect, right? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And to have already created the whole situation around global warming to be about actions that you individually need to take all the time isn't really a organizing principle around an individual. The individual, no, it's a collective action, right? Has nothing to do with what individuals can do. It has nothing to do with organizing us around our individual needs and all that stuff. And so what Kennedy is talking about here is actually the important time preference shift that's required to cover this kind of stuff, right? And you can see it come up more and more, right? You're already seeing the time preference piece, right, which I think is going to be the most important, even when it comes to analyzing this Joe Biden, Hunter Biden situation, right? So what we've been saying for a while, right? If you've been with the Breakup gang for a while now, you'll know that since it's been a month now, I guess, since the plea bargain and a little bit after, we said Joe's over. It's done. Like he's not even a character in the game anymore, right? He's off the field. And I think that became absolutely clear yesterday. And Dave Marcus, Blue Box Dave, underlines it. So what happened was, and this is the important thing this is why I make this distinction, right? So now what happened yesterday is the guy who was negotiating Weiss, the guy who was negotiating Hunter's plea deal, is now being appointed as a special counsel for the Hunter Biden investigation, right? So now there's some people who say this won't change anything. Weiss is he's already in the bag. We're not going to get anything, right? We're just going to get more bullshit. We're just going to get more slow rolling situation where little drip, we're going to find out what's happening. Not really, right? Political Sock asks the question, if this is Weiss, why would anything new happen? Same guy who was willing to cut the sweetheart deal and pretend it was fair, right? So this is what Dave Marcus says, and this is what we need to know, and this is what we talk about on the Breakup, and I think where time preference actually leads us as an important frame to put on the story to understand what's going on, right? So this is what he says. Dave Marcus says, nothing new will happen. That's not the point. The point is that the DOJ just admitted Hunter's business dealings need more investigation. This is politics, not law, right? So who cares about the legal part, right? Politics are just like look at all these indictments with Trump, right? You just keep throwing new ones at it, and then in the ether, in the air, people are like, oh, Trump's got some stuff, right? This is another one of those cases where now that there's more attention, now that you can keep the story alive using this new turn of events, right? The failed plea deal, and now more investigation about what's going on, FARA abuses, foreign stuff, more bank accounts coming out. And what it's done is it's forced, of course, the fake news into just nonstop foot faults, nonstop errors, nonstop unforced errors. There's a compilation going around yesterday already, right? These compilations often take weeks to put together. Now you've got one from just yesterday where you get all of these people on CNN trying to repeat the talking points. They never put money into Biden's account, right? Like some of the most pathetic defenses you're ever going to hear. And here's them, since Garland announced there is this Weiss special counsel, Hunter Biden stuff, not going anywhere. Since Garland's announcement, CNN has claimed 11 times that there's no evidence against Biden or Hunter. If you include this other representative who was on stage, 15 times in 3 hours, they had to repeat, there's no proof. There's no proof of anything with Biden. No proof, right? Just the bank accounts, the family stuff, which is always the formula for political corruption, right? You pay family. America is even signatory to some international corruption convention, blah, 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 that says family members count when it comes to analyzing corruption, because that's typically how it's done, right? So Jonathan Turley also picking up on it, right? Saying the Justice Department is refusing to answer whether the president is now subject to the special counsel investigation. The failure of AG Garland to expressly expand the mandate to include the influence peddling scandal is glaring. If the president is to be subject to a full and independent investigation, the attorney general would need to state so clearly and unambiguously. His silence speaks loudly to the rank and file that the mandate is still focused narrowly on Hunter, right? But that won't stick. It's going to expand. It's going to become more about Joe, and Joe is completely off the board. You don't even have to consider him anymore, right? He's just not a player in this game. And to me, the only formula from here is to try and put Newsom in front. But if you feel, if the winds that I'm seeing are true, that we are indeed abandoning left and right for something else entirely, for media literacy versus illiteracy, right? That's a better frame for what we're in right now. Financial literacy versus financial illiteracy, media literacy versus media illiteracy. If that becomes the actual frame, which I think it's going to, right? I think that's where we're headed, right? That we're getting rid of red and blue. We're getting rid of the shifting polarization and the fake prison of two ideas that people find themselves in, and opening that up to a different contour, a different line of contention is exactly what Bitcoiners need to happen in order to bring upon hyper Bitcoinization, because they're related, right? They're related. And so the plan, I think, is to put the Newsom guy in California, but he is so typically left and right. He can't function outside of that contrast and that dichotomy. He exists in that fake prison of two ideas, because everything about himself is actually defined as opposition to the red thing, right? He is blue, therefore not red, and therefore he's not red, therefore he is blue. But that won't make any sense very soon. That whole frame is not going to push anyone. The idea of playing for your team in any way is gone. Now, I've said it many times, there are still, limited people in the conservative right wing, whatever that Trump did. But Trump so heavily broke the system that already who you were seeing, the new people that came to the party, right? Remember, one of the most amazing things Trump did that wasn't counted for, just like I don't believe it's being counted for in RFK's case right now. The most incredible thing he did was he brought new people in, right? Because politics gets so used to fighting over the same voters and moving the 5% of the same voters who are capable of changing their opinion, because that's about what it is. What Trump did was just totally, because we only get like 60% of people that show up to vote anyway who are eligible. Trump brought in swaths of people who never even thought of voting before, who were disengaged. And so that ends up screwing up a lot of these polling and metrics and measurements and all that kind of stuff. Now, the idea that Kennedy can do that same thing with his Kennedy Democrat moniker, to me, seems obvious. He can bring in people that have never voted before, people who were proud to be liberal, right? And there's a lot to be proud about if you're a liberal. There is, right? Even if you're a Democrat, there's reasons why you'd want to be proud. And those people, are probably not people who follow this stuff closely. That's why they don't really know. They're probably busy doing other shit, right? Kennedy can bring those people in, and that totally skews the numbers, skews the game, and I think he's capable of doing that, right? And I think that's where we're headed with this stuff. I don't think there's any stopping that now, simply because of already what was done, right? Just look at the story itself, the CIA, the deep state getting involved with the Hunter Biden case from the beginning because they knew it was real, not because they suspected it was fake. We know that's not even close to true, right? But that's enough. And I think RFK is going to get use that to basically smack the blinders off people's faces. And once he smacks the blinders off people's faces and they see what the fight is really about, they're going to see it's not red and blue, it's green and orange. And the green and orange fight is the fight we want to be in. Right? That's the fight we want. We don't want to push Bitcoin through the red and blue binary, and then we win a bit of the red, and then there's still some red that doesn't like us, and then the blue, and it's not going to work, right? And it's not going to work. It's got to totally shift from red and blue to something else, which is what's happening. It's state control versus a state organized around individualism and individuals, right? Individualism is not exactly what I mean by that, right? Not exactly, but it's close, right? So because they knew it was true, right? And they had to do this thing. It's about a father's love for his son, Hunter Biden. It's not about money, right? He didn't even get any money into his account. It's not about that, right? But of course it is. Of course it is. And from here on out, with this stuff shifting the way it is, I think you're going to hear, a lot more of this kind of stuff that will push the environment into the red versus green argument. There's the case already of Elon Musk, right, getting sued by the government. So this idea of an individual having the entire state against them in the way that they're organizing it, right? So this is the one where they're going to look into his stuff, and Joshua Steinman says here that that he should call it the Elon Musk Better Watch Out Commission. This was the one we were talking about where they're getting into Twitter. They're trying to subpoena things and find out, right? This is what he says. The commission may inquire into the management of the business of digital platforms, and the management is conducted, and as to the technical and business developments in the provision of online services, right? So this is that whole thing where they're going after him and they're going to look into his businesses and all that. But watching someone like Elon Musk singled out by these folks is only going to repel more people and force them into this situation that this actual game that we're playing, right? Individual capacity versus state capacity. And it's forcing him into an arena that we all recognize, right? Which is why the whole fight also on the side of this is really fun. So Elon yesterday said he got the Roman whatever that stadium is called, the Coliseum, to host the fight between him and Zuck. Zuck is saying, I don't know, we'll see. I hope he gets better. I hope the back gets better. And it's true, the back is a problem, and I continue to think Zuck kicks his ass because of the back, but we'll see. So there you go. That's what we got today. We got a bunch of good news, I think, and a bunch of shifting stuff, right? You got also the El Salvador story. You got the El Salvador story with JP Morgan. So this is another one of those time preference things, right? Remember how everyone laughed? They jumped. Oh, those stupid El Salvadorians, right? Bitcoin. Oh, they're going to be blown up poor. JP Morgan coming out yesterday. Solid mix, revising GDP up and fiscal deficit down. Talking all about their Bitcoin thing and how much money they've made off of it. How successful they've become doing the Bitcoin thing in El Salvador. JP Morgan opening their eyes to it. And this is exactly the kind of stuff that takes away the power of the high time preference. Oh, El Salvador, right? Every time you get this stuff wrong, and every time you say something and it turns out to be stupid not long after, your ability to get fooled again goes down, right? And I think a lot of people who got fooled into this in markets are going to see El Salvador's success is proof that they're absolutely stupid, and that's the kind of stuff that helps open people's minds. Here's another one I need your help with. All right, I need your help with this. And this is one last story about Joe Biden, because it's a personal interest story of mine. So everyone knows he went to the Grand Canyon the other day, right, and said it's the ninth wonder of the world. But what I get Derek Bros, willing witness, here telling me is that he said it was the ninth wonder of the world built by the Phoenicians. I haven't been able to confirm this quote. So if someone can confirm that quote for me, that would be great. Because it fits into one of my own hobbies, which is antediluvian study, so pre-flood study and civilizations that were there. And of course, that Y-Files episode, and what some people think that there's tons of Egyptian writing and hieroglyphs and all kinds of stuff down in the Grand Canyon, and it would break the perception that history is fake news. And that's how powerful it would be. It would mean that America was discovered way before Columbus, which is what I believe. And so there you go. And this is what this Derek Bros, willing witness, says. He says it's why they don't allow people. I realized his dementia is so bad he is disclosing truth. Now, I don't know if he said Phoenicians, right? And if you don't know who the Phoenicians are, by the way, they were the ones the Romans defeated to create really Rome as the supreme empire in the world. They beat the Carthaginians. The Carthaginians are Phoenicians. Phoenicians sort of sailing out of Lebanon and that whole area, a bunch of city states around the Mediterranean. Some people believe the Vikings are Phoenicians because the boats are almost identical. Some people believe that red skin, by the way, so if you go into the actual history of red skin, had nothing to do with the natives here in America. That was historical revisionism. Red skin had everything to do with putting ochre and oxidized red ink on your body, especially when you died and you were buried. So they would be colored in red, and they would use it as like paint on their skin and things like that. So this was something the Vikings did. This was something the Phoenicians did. And that's why some people think they're the same people. So what he's saying here, and he goes on to say, look, he's, the problem with his dementia is he's disclosing the truth. But again, I don't have any confirmation Biden said Phoenicians. Ninth one of the world, he said, because he has dementia. I did not hear or see any of the stuff about Phoenicians, but I just wanted to pick up on it. And he says there are huge Phoenician ruins in that canyon, and terraforming was something written about in the Sumerian texts. There's more there. There's more there. I think they now see him as a risk. Just saying, we will see if this proves to be correct. I don't know if it's Biden or anything like that, but one of the main things that I love that we're about to experience, right? About a year, the next year, we're just going to see what liars the media are, right? Every day there's going to be more of this Hunter Biden type stuff, right? Where you just see the machine, you see how it operates, you see how they brainwash, you see how they lie, you see actually their job is to keep the news from you, all of it, right? That's their job. They never give you the news, ever. It's always a feint on either side, right? This is not a left or right thing on either side. At least some conservatives know both sides of the story, right? But they're generally primed and pumped and pushed into a certain direction. But now that we're going to see this, right? Now that we're going to see the machine work for a year, we're going to see how much news is fake. We're going to find out how fake history is, right? And boy, oh boy, it's going to be one of the most amazing, entertaining, fun, revelatory periods in the history of humankind. And we're about to experience it, right? Cernovich teeing it up here by saying, imagine believing in the theory of evolution when these goobers can't even trace known coronavirus from 2019. But yeah, we evolved from cosmic soup because reasons. Oh, and they doubled the age of the universe last year. Yep, it's all really coherent stuff happening, right? Now, look, there is such a thing as evolution. But does it explain our history? We're going to find out. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I just don't buy the shit they come up with, right? So we're in a world now where we're going to find out So many fun things. It goes from fake news, then it's going to go, oh, history was fake until Kennedy, right? Because that's one of the big things that's about to happen. That's either Kennedy or Trump are going to blow the lid on the truth about America since 1964, and that it was run by not good people, organized crime, right? It was run like a mafia. And once that starts to sink in, right, we're going to experience maybe a decade's worth of pyramid talk, of what really is going on in the history of China, what's going on in Antarctica, what's going on in all of these places. We're going to find Atlantis, right? This is what's coming. This is why it's going to be so much fun. We're going to find all of this stuff out soon. Just a matter of time. Did you see there's even a show, Bitcoin? Imagine this. Okay, here you gotta give me 1 second here. In 2021, at Bitcoin 2021, all I spoke to with people, this is it. I just said to everyone, Bitcoin was at the top. Everyone was laughing. Everyone, there's private drivers everywhere. Everyone had bodyguards. It was ridiculous. It was all kind of like we were playing super successful global magnet, right? We don't have those bodyguards anymore, and no one's attacking us either. So, but in that year, it was all fun. Work insisted on bodyguards and private drivers, and it was just like all these cars. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. But all I spoke to with people during the good times was Atlantis. It was all that was on my mind. This was before Graham Hancock had done the big Netflix series. He had been on Joe Rogan, and that's partly where I had learned about it. But I became a huge advocate and fan of this subject and insisted on bringing up antediluvian stuff with everybody. That's what I spent most of the lockdown doing, was just learning pre-flood history and as many sources as I could, and having fun. It's entertainment. I do it for entertainment, right? I love these things. I absolutely love this kind of stuff. The Y-Files, love it, right? This is what I find entertaining. And so, believe it or not, on Madeira, the island in the Portuguese island, where some people say Atlantis might have been, other people say it's the Azores, the other Portuguese language. Who knows? So the thing that happened is this. So I was, I don't want to give away too much about Satoshi wedding murders, but we get to Atlantis at some point. And we get into terraformation, which is what was mentioned in this Grand Canyon piece, right? And so I've been predicting for a long time that this convergence of Bitcoin and Atlantis would be a thing. And suddenly there's an event planned this year, next March, called Bitcoin Atlantis, and it's going to be in Madeira. So this shit's coming together, guys. 2020s, 2030s, all about Atlantis, all about pre-flood, all about Nephilim, all about fake history, and we're going to rewrite it and find out what really happened, which will probably be revised again in 100 years, right? Because we don't know enough. So there you go. All right, let me find some quotes here. I naturally wake up at 5 a.m. Andy, racist. So supremacist. Are you bragging? CK, good morning. Indeed, Johnny with a CK, good morning. This is pretty. Saw Tucker's interview of the previous head of the Capitol. He's pretty damning for the Uniparty. I think so, bud. Yeah, I think so, bud. Politics is a bloody soap opera. The bad guy becomes the good guy, and the good guy becomes the bad guy. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Catacombs. What's up, Catacombs? Good day, Bitcoiners, indeed. Good day. Politics is basically, says Andy, sports voyeurism for intellectuals. I opted out. I think, Andy, that is exactly correct. Yeah. For a white supremacist, you know a lot. And it seems taxing you and making you poor will fix the climate. They love that one. Yeah. They love that one. Sounds like Charles Eisenstein's book, Climate, a New Story. Turns out Eisenstein is working on RFK. Yeah, I bet that's true. I've met Eisenstein a few times. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. I believe he is working on. I don't know how close he's working on RFK Jr.'s campaign, because RFK Jr. is a Bitcoiner and knows better to fuck around with total shit coins like Cello or Cello, wherever the fuck that thing that he's involved in, Eisenstein. All right. Morning, Bitcoiners. Morning, Bitcoiners. Veterans Cannabis Advocacy Group. Good day, Bitcoin Tribe. Peace and prosperity. We love it. Shitcoiner versus Bitcoiner. Yeah. Smash the like, fam. We love it. We love it. We love it. Bukele is very smart. I'm sure he knew that Bitcoin as legal tender was just the beginning of the story. Just in tourism alone, the action was 100% worth it. Not sure how many. Yeah, I've been, but just so Bukele was in power when I went, but he hadn't made Bitcoin a thing, and it was just before COVID. So I went in like December 2019. So I didn't get to see too much. The people, and P-Man Van saying the people are optimistic about the future. Yeah, complete opposite of Canada. But as I've said, P-Man, Canadians are the dumbest people in the world. You just have to accept it, right? Unless the New Zealanders and Australians want to compete about it, and they might lose. Like, it's hard to say, right? If you did like a quiz show about who could get the wrong answer, I mean, remember they did like the Saturday Night Lives where what was it? Will Ferrell was the Alex Trebek host of Jeopardy, right? Like therapists, the rapists, right? Remember those episodes? I feel like you could do sort of a fake news game show, right? Where the wrong fake news answer was, why did Joe Biden help his son? Because he loves him, right? Those kinds of things. You got to be able to like hit the fake news key right on, and that's how you get points. I believe a world champion out there comes from Canada. I believe like the Wayne Gretzky of fake news buying, the gullibility out, the person out there who is sure that everything they read in the news is correct. That person is in Canada, but I feel like there might be a hidden talent in Australia. Like I believe there's a superstar in Australia or New Zealand as well, right? Like superstar. So there you go. El Salvador turned Mecca for Bitcoiners. Indeed, Bushmaster 6. Muslim Bitcoiner bringing us some truth here. Assalam, confirmed Phoenician were in the Grand Canyon for eons. That's what I think. That's what I think. Because I like to think it. I have no proof. I just like the idea. And it why is the Grand Canyon, like, why can't you go there, right? I don't know. I used to think you could just go there. I had a plan to just go to the Grand Canyon when I was younger and just like whitewater raft down to Arizona or something. And that's why I've never been to the Grand Canyon. They're like, you can't actually go in. You got to go on that stupid sky deck. I was like, I don't really want to do that. No, I can't. I believe, just seeing pictures, the Grand Canyon looks like the most beautiful place in the world. And I'm dying to go, and I really want to go. But we'll see. We'll see. Iggy Pop, New Atlantis. Got to check it out, David. Thanks for the recommendation. I am a Iggy Pop fan. You all have a wonderful day. I'm on the side of hope and Bitcoin, of course. Same here, man. Same here. Yeah, hoping Eisenstein will come around to Bitcoin. Maybe you and RFK Jr. can fully orange pill him. Hard. He's got financial incentives, Capenta. You can go in the canyon, CK says. Only in parts, CK. Only in parts. You cannot go anywhere you want. There's only a few I've gone down on the south side. Have you, CK? Okay. I don't know. I could be getting completely tricked by online video people, right? Like, I don't know. The guy who was there said most of the interesting parts are off limits, and even still, like, look, you watch the Y-Files thing. He calls the Smithsonian, who is apparently the one that hid everything there and closed it all down. They say, no, not true, not happening. They could be right. I have no proof, and could easily be. You can go in the canyon, try Bright Angel Chest. Again, my understanding is there are places you can go in, but that the majority of it is completely closed to the public. And if you try, weird people come out of nowhere and stop you. Right. But I don't know. I really don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. All right. Robert, peace out. Up at 3 a.m. tomorrow. Robert, careful. It's going to be a crime. All right, team. That's all I got for today. I hope you have a great day. And, I was just having fun with the Grand Canyon stuff at the end there. So, I would love to go, CK. I would love to. Yeah, it's one of my absolute dreams in life. I've actually, I've been everywhere except Vegas. I've never been to Vegas, and I've never been to Arizona, and I've never been to any of that part of the world. And I can't even look at pictures of it anymore because I think it's so beautiful and I want to go. So we're gonna make it. My when I used to work for a senator in Canada, that senator was a super cool guy. He was a spy at one point in his life, and he, just between being a spy and going into the private sector, bought a motorbike and did the Easy Rider thing across the United States. And he tells me that the canyon, the way he describes it is it's not even a geographic feature. It's totally new. A canyon doesn't describe what it is. It's something else entirely. And he says absolutely, without a doubt, the most beautiful place in the world. And I believe it. Vegas sucks, but I want to see a city that shouldn't exist except for the insane ideas Americans get. Like, it's the most American city, and it's everything I love about America, right? Like, it shouldn't be there. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Why would you ever build a city in that where that one's built, right? It's just so fiat America, and you gotta appreciate that too, right? That was, again, like, I guess here's a Bitcoin thought that I mentioned the other day that I'll leave you on, and it has to do with this, and it's sort of the tension we all find ourselves in Bitcoin, right? That the line between optimism about what it is we're doing and scams, total scam, right? The line is so fine. It has to be, right? Because you gotta take chances. You gotta do crazy things. If you don't have, if that line was so cut and dry, and we knew what was an honest, optimistic endeavor versus we could tell the difference between what is absolutely a scam. Because in every startup, there is a point. There's a point where it's like, do we pivot? Do we try? There is a point where it's like kind of a scam, right? All the time. Like, it's just, there's no avoiding it, right? And to me, Vegas is like that, right? Where it's like, I understand why you'd want to build a city in the desert in the middle of nowhere, right? I get the optimism, energy, the Hoover Dam, like carving, taming nature. Love all that stuff, right? Love it. But you made a casino town, right? But it worked. We did it. It's like terraformation. Like, to me, I guess that's what I love. I love the subject of terraformation. I love the subject of new cities. As you know, we talk about that all the time, how I think that's going to be a big Bitcoin business, right? New cities out of nowhere. Well, Vegas is one of the first to do that. And to me, it remains like the absolute, the crystallization and the condensed idea of 20th century America in one place. And so I love it. I've never been, but I love the idea. I'll probably hate it when I'm there. But you can ski there. That's pretty cool in the winter, right? I like that. All right, it is close to the canyon. That's why I always put them together. And anytime I do go to Vegas, it's going to be to go to the Grand Canyon. So hopefully I make it. Hopefully some event or convention or some reason to go to Vegas in my life, and I'll be happy to get there. So there you go. All right, team. That's all I got for today. I hope you have a great day. I will not see you tomorrow. It's Sunday. I'm driving back to Montreal tonight, but I'll be back around Monday. Until then, peace, everyone.